The moment I called my mother-in-law, I knew I had reached a breaking point. My chest tightened, the tears spilled, and for the first time in weeks, I let it all out. 15 minutes. That's how long I cried. I couldn't stop, even as the guilt washed over me for unloading like that. But how could I hold it in any longer? My fiancé had been injured over a month ago. His surgery should have been the fix, but it felt like that fix had shattered us in ways I didn't know how to repair. Since the accident, I had become his caregiver, his constant companion. 2 days after the surgery, I had stepped into this role without a second thought. The house was mine to keep together. I made every meal, took care of the pets, stayed up through sleepless nights, tending to his every need. His every demand. I was working remotely, but home had become a prison. I couldn't even leave for more than an hour, except for doctor appointments. I wasn't complaining. I wanted to be there. I was thankful that I could be the one to help him through this. But the problem was him. His attitude. The first 2 weeks were manageable. On the painkillers, he was sweet, appreciative. Every step, he thanked me. He told me he loved me, apologized for things I didn't even think needed an apology. But then he stopped. Cold turkey. And suddenly, nothing I did was right. Every dish I brought him? Wrong. Every request I fulfilled? Met with irritation. If he was in pain, I was expected to fix it immediately. And when I couldn't, he'd scream. I was exhausted. Every night, it felt like I was losing myself. I hadn't slept, hadn't seen a friend in what felt like forever. The phone calls? Short, full of tension. After days of this, days of verbal abuse, I broke. I called my mother-in-law. I didn't know what else to do. As soon as I saw he was asleep, I let go. The frustration poured out. I felt terrible, but the floodgates were open, and I couldn't hold it back. She listened. And when I finished, she told me I wasn't wrong for feeling this way. She reassured me, comforted me, then got furious. The next thing I knew, she was on the phone with him. I heard the way she tore into him. He tried to defend himself, but his words were weak, stumbling, mostly drowned out by the anger in her voice. She hung up and flew to me. I was sent to a nice hotel, away from all of it. When I left, he yelled at me. He screamed for calling his mother, for reaching out, for not handling it all on my own. He said he didn't want to marry someone who couldn't be there for him when he was sick. The word stung, but I just said, I love you. I'm sorry. I'm just so tired. He didn't care. He told me to go, that his mother would take better care of him than I ever could. I'm in a hotel now, alone, my heart heavy, my mind clouded. I feel like a failure, like a terrible person. But am I really wrong here? He'd been weaning off the meds for 2 weeks, but now, he's fully dependent on over-the-counter painkillers. The doctors are aware of it, but he still doesn't see what's happening. 2 days after posting, I went home. It was a sad return. My mother-in-law had cleaned, but the energy in the house felt dead. When I walked in, the first words out of his mouth were, "I'm glad you're back. Can you make me a snack?" No apology. No acknowledgement of what had happened. Just a demand. The weekend was the same. He didn't really talk to me unless he needed something. But then his friends came over. Suddenly, he was a different person, buying me flowers, getting out of bed, taking me out. For a moment, things felt normal. But the day his friends left, so did his attitude. It was like I was back to being invisible. I wish I could be in my own apartment, surrounded by my pets, my own space. Or with my girlfriends, catching up, laughing. Instead, here I am, sitting on a couch in a place that's not my own, listening to him bark out demands. But there's a flicker of hope. I know it's not forever. He's leaving the country for a month in April. And when he does, I'll have the space I need. My sister lives abroad, and I'm working on getting there. I'm not sure how I'll do it with the pets, but I will. I'll get there. I need to. My mom hasn't spoken to me since I told her I was returning the ring. That's not what we do, she said. We don't give up. But my father? He's been nothing but supportive. And that's what I need right now. I deserve kindness. Not from his mother, but from him. I've stopped forcing myself to find joy in his presence, and it's helping. It's giving me the strength to get out. I can't keep trying to fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. I may update again when I get to my sister's place. But don't be surprised if I choose to leave this chapter behind. Life often throws up roadblocks that seem insurmountable, but with an incredible support system behind me, I find a way through. Sure, I haven't had that heart-to-heart with my mother yet. That'll come much later, and believe me, it's going to require a serious apology from her. I love my mom, but there are lines I can't cross. I won't stand for her pushing me into unhealthy choices just to spare her own embarrassment over our broken home. I mean, let's face it, I'm 21. My broken little ties home? Yeah, let's be real, I'm young, smart, and yes, pretty. I've got an incredible future ahead, a life that's full of potential. I'm so grateful for the people who help me not settle for what's easy, for pushing me towards something better. I hope this is the last update I ever have to make. And I truly hope your Friday is going great, because if there's one thing I've learned, it's to be grateful for the moments that keep us grounded. One comment came through, something about his behavior improving, but asking if I was considering going back. And my response? Absolutely not. I've seen the progress, and I'm glad for it. But I have no intention of rejoining that chapter of my life. What I'm genuinely happy about is that he's taking steps to rebuild himself, to become a better person. I didn't expect him to own his mistakes, let alone try to improve for his own sake, but that's exactly what he's doing. It's a huge relief to see him take responsibility, especially when I thought self-destruction was all that was left for him. Now, I need to tell you about something I didn't mention before. The last time I saw my ex, we had one final hookup. At that time, it seemed irrelevant, but in hindsight, it's important. Because now, I'm pregnant. And that's a reality I feared the most during our relationship. I never wanted to face the possibility of raising a child alone. And now, here I am, in the exact position I dreaded. After I found out, I told him about the pregnancy a few days later. I assured him, though, that this wouldn't change our relationship. It's still a messy situation, but he has the right to be involved. And then he declared he was moving to my hometown to be the best father he could possibly be. To be honest, I'm skeptical. My anxiety is through the roof. I barely know how to take care of myself, let alone another human being. But I want my child to be loved beyond measure, to have everything in the world, and more. I can't do that alone. But his efforts to step up are encouraging, even though I can't help but feel some of it might be a ploy to get back into my good graces. I can't let myself be the mother to both my ex and my child. I can't fall into the same destructive patterns that led to our breakup. Every day feels like a battle. A gift here, a text there, he keeps pulling at me with these gestures, flowers, massage certificates, baby bunk boxes. Each one brings me closer to giving in, to falling back into the cycle. And I don't know why I'm writing all of this down, it's cathartic, I guess. To put it all out there in my own words. It's hard to carve your own path in a small town, especially when you're pregnant and single. But the hardest part? Telling your father you're expecting. It doesn't matter how old you are, that conversation is never easy. But I have to believe we'll be okay. I'm already trying my best to be a good mom, to make the right choices for my baby. And even though it's tough, I'm doing everything I can to keep my head above water. A comment popped up, asking if I'm sure I want to be tied to him for the rest of my life. That's the reality a child brings, they said. And I replied honestly, no, I'm not sure about much right now. But I do know one thing for certain, I already love this baby with everything I have. I know he loves our child too, and that's all I need to focus on right now. His mom has always been good at keeping him in check, so maybe, just maybe, things will be okay. Another update, though, this one's about my mom and me. We've always had a rocky relationship. As soon as I could, I moved in with my dad and kept the contact minimal. After high school, I moved away for college and work, but she followed me to my new city in an attempt to rebuild what we once had. But honestly, I got scared. The choices I made while with her weren't ones I was proud of, so I pulled back again. She moved back to her hometown, and I stayed distant. But life threw a curveball at me recently. Long story short, my boyfriend and I broke up. I moved back in with my dad, and then, surprise, I found out I was pregnant. I made the choice to stay in my mom's guest house during my pregnancy, hoping to save some money for the baby. It seemed like a good plan. She was kind enough to let me stay, and I figured I could keep a low profile. How naive was I? Every day, without fail, she comes over to check on me. And not once has she failed to offer me a drink. She chain smokes right outside my bedroom window, staying late into the night. I get it, it's her home, and she's trying to be there for me. But I'm growing, I'm changing, and I need space to prepare for the responsibilities of motherhood. I've been stressed, isolated, and honestly, trying to be a decent person in a tough situation. But it's hard. The last time I brought it up, I screamed. And she told me to leave the next morning. It was so upsetting. It feels like she's trying to provoke me, to get me to react so she can pull out all the power plays and make me feel small. I'm just trying to find my way through this, to rebuild myself and my future. I love my mom, I really do. But I need her to respect what I'm trying to do, for me, for the baby, and for our family. Please, just respect that. And here I am now, finally in a place where I feel happy and confident enough to share my journey with you all. My life has completely flipped, but I'm standing strong. After several months in my new job, which is a perfect fit and provides amazing pay, I moved out of my mom's place. I had to, I needed that independence. But the best part? The relationships I formed at work. On my first day, I met a group of coworkers who became some of my closest friends. They've been there through everything, supporting me through my struggles. Without them, I don't know how I would have gotten through my miscarriage. Losing a child is a pain unlike any other. It still breaks me, even now. When my ex found out about the miscarriage, he lost it. He said I took his family from him, and he would never forgive me. He threatened to sue me for emotional distress. Can you even imagine? But despite everything, I'm moving forward. I found a man who is the opposite of my ex. He cooks, he cleans, he makes me feel beautiful, smart, and worthy. He's everything I've ever wanted. And slowly, I'm finding a new version of myself. I've rediscovered hobbies I gave up for my ex, and I'm finally living for myself. I've found good friends, a better life, and someone who makes me want to be the best version of me. Thank you for being here, for reading. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And hit that notification bell to stay updated on more real-life stories that may surprise you.